The battlefield rescue. The sky was dark with smoke. The battlefield was filled with broken ships and burning ground. The war between humans and the alien empire had left behind nothing but silence. Still, the silence was not peaceful. It was heavy, filled with the cries of the wounded. Jonah, a young human medic, walked carefully among the ruins. He was not a soldier. He carried no weapon. His only tools were the medical kit strapped to his back and his will to save lives. Wherever he looked, he saw injured bodies. Some were human, some were alien. Most were beyond help, yet Jonah stopped for each one. He tried. He whispered to them. He gave them water. He closed their eyes when they took their final breath. But something strange caught his attention. Under a pile of broken stones, he heard a faint sound. It was not the usual cry of pain. It was sharper, full of anger and pride. Jonah pushed aside the rubble, and there she was, an alien girl, her skin pale blue, her eyes burning with fire. Even in her weakness, she glared at him. Jonah's breath stopped. He knew her face. Every human had seen it in the warning broadcasts. She was the alien king's daughter, the rebellious princess who had openly defied her father, the same girl who called for freedom in the alien courts. Now she lay broken, her leg twisted, blood staining her royal armor. "Stay away, human," she hissed, her voice weak but filled with hatred. Jonah did not answer. He dropped to his knees, his hands already pulling out bandages. He had treated soldiers from both sides before. For him, pain was the same. Blood was the same, but this was different. Saving her could mean his death if anyone found out. "You will die if I don't help," he said quietly. "And I cannot let that happen." Her eyes widened. Confused, no alien expected kindness from a human. Humans were supposed to be weak, supposed to be enemies. Yet this medic's hands were steady. His eyes calm, he cleaned her wounds, wrapped her leg, gave her medicine that humans had developed to fight infection. Her breathing slowed. The pain in her face softened. Still she whispered, Why would you help me, enemy?" Jonah looked at her, and for a moment he forgot who she was. She was not a princess, not an enemy, just a girl who needed help. "Because you are alive," he said, "and life must be saved." Time passed slowly. The smoke grew thicker. Jonah knew he had to move her before the alien patrols returned. He tried to lift her. She struggled. Her pride refused to accept help, but her body betrayed her, weak and trembling. Finally, she allowed him to carry her on his back. As he walked, Jonah remembered the warnings. Human medics were told never to interfere with royal bloodlines, never to get close to alien leaders, but now he had the rebel daughter on his shoulders. Each step was dangerous, each breath a risk. Suddenly, distant voices echoed. Alien soldiers were near. Jonah's heart raced. If they found him with her, they would kill him without question. He hid behind a half-destroyed wall, holding his breath. The princess could feel his chest rise and fall quickly. She looked at him with new eyes. This human was not afraid of dying for her, a stranger, an enemy, and for the first time, she felt doubt about everything she had been told about humans. The soldiers passed, their voices fading into the distance. Jonah exhaled slowly. He kept moving until he reached a small shelter, half buried under the ruins. It was dark, hidden, a safe place for now. He laid her down gently, checked her wounds again, gave her water. She stared at him in silence. Finally she asked, "You know who I am, don't you?" Jonah nodded. "Yes, you are the daughter of the king." "Then you know saving me is dangerous," she said. "Your people will hate you for it, and my father will kill you if he finds you." Jonah looked at his bloody hands, at the small light in her eyes that refused to die. "Maybe," he answered, "but if I leave you here, your voice will be gone forever, and I think your voice is important." Her lips parted, shocked. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not even her own people. Jonah's words were simple, but they carried weight. Outside, the night grew darker. The war still raged somewhere far away. But inside that broken shelter, something new was born. Trust, fragile but real. Jonah knew the danger was far from over. The alien king would not stop searching for his daughter, and if he discovered a human medic had touched her, healed her, carried her, the fury of an empire would fall upon him. But Jonah also knew one thing. He could not turn back now. He had made a choice, and that choice would change not only his life, but perhaps the fate of the entire galaxy. The rebel's secret. The night passed slowly inside the ruined shelter. Jonah stayed awake, checking the princess's wounds. The air outside was filled with the sound of distant engines and the heavy march of soldiers. The alien empire was searching. Their king would never allow his daughter to disappear without being found. The princess, still weak, tried to hide her pain. Her eyes were sharp, watching Jonah's every move. She had been raised to see humans as fragile, as lesser beings, but this medic worked with steady hands. his face calm even though danger pressed closer with every second. After hours of silence, she finally spoke, her voice low. "You are a fool, human. Do you know what you've done? Saving me means death, not just for you, but for your people if my father learns." Jonah did not look up. He was stitching a deep wound on her arm. "Then let him learn," he said softly. "I cannot change what I am. I heal. That is my duty." Her eyes narrowed. She had never met anyone who spoke to her without fear. Even alien generals trembled before her title. Yet this medic spoke as if she were just another patient. After a pause, she whispered, "I did not fall in battle by accident. I was betrayed." Jonah stopped for a moment. His hands frozen, he looked into her eyes. She continued, her voice sharper now, filled with buried anger. "My father calls me rebel. But I only spoke the truth. I saw his cruelty, the way he enslaved weaker tribes, the way he crushed voices that begged for peace. I wanted freedom for them. I wanted a better world. But my own guards turned against me. My father ordered it." The words hung heavy in the air. Jonah could not believe what he heard. The alien king had tried to silence his own daughter, not just because of disobedience, but because her voice carried hope. "And now," she said bitterly, "I am nothing but a broken body in the hands of an enemy medic. My rebellion is over." Jonah shook his head slowly. "No, your voice is not over. Not if you live. Not if you rise again." She stared at him, confusion flickering in her eyes. No one had ever spoken to her like this, not as a soldier, not as a leader, but as someone who mattered beyond titles and bloodlines. Suddenly, footsteps echoed outside the shelter. Jonah froze. He pulled her closer into the shadows. Alien voices rang through the night. They were searching every ruin, every corner. The princess whispered harshly, "Leave me, human, if they find us together. They will kill you first, and I will be dragged back to the palace in chains." Jonah shook his head firmly. "No, I will not leave. I will not let them erase you." The voices grew louder. Beams of alien light cut through the smoke. Shining dangerously close, Jonah held his breath. The princess leaned against him, feeling the steady beat of his heart. The soldiers passed, but not before one stopped near the shelter. His weapon humming, Jonah's grip on the princess tightened. She could feel his fear, but also his resolve. The soldier turned, ready to step inside. Then, a loud explosion boomed far away. The ground shook. The patrol was distracted. They ran toward the noise, their lights fading into the night. The princess let out a slow breath. Her body trembling, Jonah looked at her. "See? Your voice is not finished. You still have something to fight for." She turned her face away, hiding the strange warmth in her chest. For years she had been called defiant, stubborn rebel, but never had anyone believed in her, not even those she fought to protect. And now this human. An enemy. A medic with no weapon told her she still mattered. She whispered so softly he barely heard, "You are different, human, not like the others." Jonah gave her water, then sat against the cold wall, exhaustion pulling at his eyes. "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe you only believed lies about us." Her gaze lingered on him in the dim light, her pride still strong, but somewhere deep inside, a small wall had begun to crack. Outside, the Empire searched. The king's fury spread like fire across the land. The order was clear. His daughter must be found, and the human who touched her must die inside the broken shelter. However, another fire was lit, not of hate, but of something far more dangerous. Trust Jonah did not know yet. But saving her was more than an act of kindness. It was the spark that could set the galaxy on a path no king could control, and the rebel daughter knew a secret she had not yet revealed. A secret so powerful that if Jonah stayed by her side, the galaxy itself would tremble. The king's fury. The alien palace shook with anger, its tall black towers glowing red under the stormy skies. The king sat on his throne of iron, his face carved with fury. His golden crown felt heavy, but his wrath was heavier. Before him knelt his generals, heads bowed, afraid to meet his eyes. "My daughter," the king roared, his voice echoing through the hall. "She defied me once, and now she is missing. If she breathes, it is because one of you has failed me." The generals trembled. None dared to speak. The king's fists tightened on the arms of his throne. "Find her," he thundered. "Burn every ruin, search every shadow. And if a human has touched her, bring me his head." The order spread like fire across the Empire. Soldiers marched. Scanners swept the skies. No corner would be left unsearched. Meanwhile, far from the palace, Jonah sat in the dark shelter, the princess resting against the wall, her wounds slowly healing. He had given her medicine again, his hands steady but his heart heavy. He knew the king's soldiers would not stop. They would burn the ground until she was dragged back to her father. "You should leave me," she whispered, her voice low. Her eyes shadowed by fear she refused to show. "If you stay, the king's fury will fall on you. No human can survive that." Jonah looked at her, his jaw set. "I saved you, and I will not undo that choice." She shook her head, her pride colliding with the strange warmth she felt for him. "You do not understand, human. My father is not just a king. He is power itself. He controls fleets, he commands billions. He will crush you like dust." Jonah's eyes did not waver. "Maybe," he said softly, "but power cannot heal, and power cannot change what is right." Before she could answer, the ground shook. The sound of heavy steps and alien machines filled the night. Jonah pulled her close, his heart racing. The king's fury had reached them faster than he expected. Through the cracks of the ruined shelter, beams of red light swept across the battlefield. Soldiers shouted in the alien tongue, their weapons humming with deadly energy. The princess's face turned pale. "They are here," she whispered. "If they find us, they will kill you in front of me, and then chain me in silence forever." Jonah tightened his grip on her arm. "Then we will not be found," but fate was cruel. A shadow moved outside the shelter. A soldier stepped in, his eyes glowing under his helmet, his weapon aimed straight at Jonah. The soldier froze for a moment when he saw the scene. His princess alive, and a human medic kneeling beside her, the two together in secret. The soldier lifted his weapon, ready to fire, but before he could, the princess raised her weak voice. Sharp and commanding. "Stop," she ordered. Her royal blood still carried authority. The soldier hesitated, torn between his king's order and his princess's command. The silence was sharp like a blade. Jonah knew one wrong move would end it all. He reached slowly into his bag, pulling out a vial of medicine, holding it up like proof. "I saved her," he said firmly. "Without me, she would already be dead." The soldier's eyes flickered with conflict. The princess added, her voice breaking but strong, "If you kill him, you kill the one who gave me life again." The soldier lowered his weapon slightly, but the sound of more footsteps echoed. More soldiers were coming. Jonah's time was running out. The princess turned to him, her eyes burning with urgency. "Listen to me, human. I told you my rebellion had ended, but I lied. There is something I still carry, something my father fears if he learns I shared it with you. He will destroy entire worlds to silence it." Jonah's heart pounded. "What secret?" he asked. She leaned closer, her voice a whisper only for him. "My father's empire is weaker than it seems. There is a fracture, a hidden truth that could shatter his throne, and I am the key." Suddenly the soldiers stormed in, pulling Jonah to his feet, weapons pressing against his back. The princess tried to stand, but her leg gave way. They dragged Jonah forward, the leader growling, "The king will decide your fate, human." Jonah looked back at her as they pulled him away, her eyes locked on his, not with fear, but with something else, a silent promise. The king's fury was close, and Jonah was about to stand before the most dangerous ruler in the galaxy. But deep inside he carried more than fear. He carried her secret. A secret powerful enough to burn an empire. The trial of loyalty. The alien palace was a mountain of steel and fire, its walls covered with glowing symbols of power. Jonah was dragged through the endless corridors by armored soldiers, his wrists bound. The sound of their boots echoed like drums of doom. Finally, the great doors of the throne room opened, and Jonah was pushed inside. The hall stretched wide and high, filled with alien nobles, generals, and advisors, all watching in silence. At the far end sat the king, his crown burning with red gems, his eyes sharp like blades. "Bring him forward," the king ordered. His voice thundered across the hall. Jonah was forced to kneel before the throne, the weight of countless eyes pressing down on him. The king leaned forward, his face carved with anger. "A human medic," he spat, "daring to touch royal blood, daring to lay hands on my daughter, you should already be ashes." Jonah kept his head low, his heart racing but his voice steady. "I saved her life," he said quietly. "Without me, your daughter would not be here." The court erupted in whispers, shock spreading like wildfire. The king's fist tightened. "Silence," he roared, then leaned closer. "Do you think healing her gives you the right to live?" Before Jonah could answer, the doors opened again. Every noble turned as the princess entered, limping but standing tall. Her armor repaired only by Jonah's careful hands. The soldiers gasped. She was alive. "Her presence silenced the hall, father," she said firmly, though her voice trembled from pain. "He speaks the truth. Without this human, I would be dead. Your enemies would have rejoiced. Your court would have whispered of weakness. It was his hands, not yours, that saved me." The hall fell silent again. The king's eyes widened with rage. "You dare to defend him!" he bellowed. "You who already betrayed me with your rebellion, now you bow your head to an enemy." The princess lifted her chin, her eyes blazing. "I bow to no one, father. I speak only truth. This human showed me what you never did. He gave me compassion. He treated me not as a princess, not as an enemy, but as life worth saving." The nobles whispered louder, some nodding secretly, others shaking in fear. Jonah saw it in their eyes, doubt, small but spreading. The king rose from his throne, his voice shaking the walls. "You dare question my rule? In front of my court, in front of this human? Your rebellion is poison, and now it infects him too." He turned to Jonah, his hand raised as if to strike. "You will pay for this defiance. Your death will remind the galaxy what happens when humans step beyond their place." Jonah felt the cold edge of death close, yet he did not bow his head. Instead he spoke, his voice firm, carrying through the hall. "If saving a life is defiance, then I am guilty, but remember this, your daughter is not weak. She is strong because she sees truth. If you silence her, you silence your future." The hall froze. Even the king's hand stopped midair. No one had ever spoken to him like that, not even his own generals. For a long moment, silence filled the throne room. Only the sound of Jonah's breath and the princess's steady gaze remained. Then the princess stepped forward, her voice rising. "Father, listen to him. Humans are not what you told us. They are not weak. They are not worthless. I saw it with my own eyes. This human stood against death for me. He carried me, healed me, and never once asked for reward. You may call me rebel, but perhaps I am only loyal to the truth you fear." The words struck the court like lightning. The nobles murmured. Some even bowed their heads in respect toward Jonah. The king's face twisted with rage and conflict. He raised his hand again, but this time not in anger, his voice deep and slow. "Then let it be a trial," he declared. "This human claims to heal, this daughter claims to rebel. Let the galaxy see tomorrow at dawn. I will decide their fate, and all will witness what loyalty truly means." The hall erupted with voices. Soldiers dragged Jonah back. The princess tried to follow but was held. Their eyes met, burning with unspoken words. Jonah's heart pounded. He had not been executed yet, but now he was thrown into something greater. A trial that would decide not just his life, but the future between humans and the alien empire. And somewhere deep in the shadows of the court, whispers grew, whispers that the king's fury might not be enough to silence the truth forever. The shocking reward dawn broke over the alien capital, the sky painted in crimson light. Banners of the empire waved in the cold wind. The grand square outside the palace was filled with thousands. Soldiers stood in ranks, nobles filled the balconies, and the people gathered to witness the trial of a human medic and their rebellious princess. Jonah stood in chains at the center of the square, his body tired but his eyes calm. He had seen death on battlefields, but never like this here. Death was not quick, it was public, heavy with spectacle. Beside him stood the princess, her wounds bound, her face pale but her spirit unbroken. The king appeared on a high platform. Towering above all, his voice rolled like thunder. "My daughter has betrayed me, and this human has dared to touch royal blood. Today I show the galaxy what loyalty means," the crowd roared, some cheering, others whispering with unease. The noble's eyes darted between the king and Jonah, some curious, some fearful. The king raised his hand. A soldier stepped forward, holding a blade glowing with red fire. Jonah closed his eyes for a moment, ready for the end, but then, before the blade could fall, the princess stepped forward. Her voice rang clear. "Stop!" The soldier froze. The crowd gasped. She turned to the people, her eyes fierce. "My father calls me rebel, but I am loyal to truth, loyal to justice, loyal to a future beyond cruelty. This human saved me when my own guards betrayed me. He risked his life when all others abandoned me. If that is treason, then I stand guilty with him." The square erupted in noise, voices clashing. Some shouted for her silence, others whispered her courage. The king's face burned with rage. "Enough," he thundered. "Your words are poison. Your rebellion ends now." Jonah lifted his head, his voice steady and strong, carrying across the crowd. "She speaks the truth. I saved her not because she is your daughter, not because of her crown, but because she is life. If that is weakness, then let weakness save your empire, because your power cannot." The words struck like lightning. The crowd hushed. Even the soldiers lowered their eyes. For the first time, doubt flickered in the king's expression. He looked at his daughter, standing tall though trembling. He looked at the human medic who met his gaze without fear, and he felt the weight of 1,000 eyes watching him, waiting. A long silence stretched, broken only by the wind finally. The king lowered his hand, his voice heavy but clear. Then let the galaxy see I'm not blind to truth. He turned to Jonah. You saved royal blood, and though you are human, I cannot deny your courage. Instead of death, you will be given honor. You will walk free under my protection. The crowd gasped. Shock rippled like a wave. No human had ever been honored by the alien throne. Then the king turned to his daughter, his eyes softer but still sharp. And you, rebellious child, your defiance shames me, but your voice carries strength I cannot crush. So I give you a choice. Stand by this human and carry your truth. But remember, from this day your words will shape not just my empire, but the galaxy itself. The princess's eyes widened. She had expected chains, perhaps even death, but not this. She turned to Jonah, her lips trembling. Then she nodded slowly. I will stand by him. The crowd roared, some in anger, some in awe, but no one could deny what had just happened. A human medic, once considered weak, had changed the will of an empire. The king raised his arm, declaring, Let it be known, this human is no enemy but a bridge. Let the galaxy remember. Loyalty is not blind obedience. Loyalty is truth. Jonah felt the chains fall from his wrists. The princess stood beside him, her eyes shining with something new. Hope. Together they walked away from the square, the people watching in silence, the story of the medic and the rebellious daughter already spreading beyond the walls, beyond the stars. And though Jonah had asked for nothing, he had received a reward no treasure could match: trust, respect, and the chance to heal more than just wounds, to heal the future of two worlds.